back, guys. Lots of Apple news to discuss today. A 16-inch MacBook Pro by end of year, organic LED displays coming to iPads and MacBooks here relatively soon. Face ID Generation 3 has been detailed and it's looking mighty exciting, and I wanted to discuss some alternative iPhone 11 designs. Okay, let's get straight into it with the new 16-inch MacBook Pro. Now, we've heard about this before. Now we've got the actual details regarding resolution and time frame of release here. Coming from IHS Markit, they're saying that by end of year this year, Apple is on track to deliver a 16-inch MacBook Pro. And alongside this news, we have developed some new renders here inspired by Victor Kadar. He did a fantastic job with his smaller 14-inch MacBook Pro. We took it up to the next level and created a 16-inch version with more ports and inspired the speaker grill great design by the new Mac Pro. So in case you wanted to shred some cheese, you can now do that easily on your new MacBook Pro. Okay, I really don't know how feasible that would be, the great design, as it's bigger, and we kind of accounted for this being the heat exchange as well as the speaker output. The holes are a little large and I'd be scared about stuff getting stuck in there, but it looks cool, I guess. Anyway, so we rounded that design off. I think the 16-inch MacBook Pro could be stunning. Now, my question is, how does it fall into the lineup? In the article, they detailed it will not be an organic LED display. It'll still be LCD. It has a slightly sharper resolution to make up for that extra inch versus the 15-inch MacBook Pro. But how is Apple going to sell these devices alongside each other, especially since they just refreshed the 15-inch with the new 8-core monster? 9to5Mac is theorizing that Apple is trying to shift away from their current lineup to a 12, 14, and 16-inch lineup, and that could work out. They definitely would need to sell these alongside each other, but potentially we could be going to an all-new different platform here. And to make this even more exciting, it looks like organic LED displays are actually coming to MacBooks and future iPads. Apple is working out a deal right now with Samsung where instead of being penalized for not ordering enough organic LED displays on their current iPhones, they're going to supplement that order by ordering more for different devices, such as the iPad and MacBooks. Now, it's not to say it's coming out this year, but we should be seeing those relatively soon. And my question because of that now is, micro LED or mini LED, where's the time scheduling on that? We were supposed to see some devices here in 2020, 2021. Now could it be pushed back even further and we'll have a stopgap of OLED in between? It looks like the future is in no rush to arrive just yet. And to make matters even worse for upcoming Macs, and by worse I mean even more exciting, Apple has just hired a lead ARM chip developer, which will help accelerate their own in-house chip development. And I'm excited for that future. It was rumored that in 2020, Apple's Macs would begin to use their own in-house chips, and the future really is almost here. Apple's been using Intel for the longest time since PowerPC, and looks like they'll be making that transition again to ARM very soon. Now, Bloomberg is reporting that one of the biggest reasons why Apple is moving away from Intel to ARM is because of Project Catalyst. It'll be easier to develop an application for the iPhone and then port it to the Mac and the iPad and vice versa using ARM processors on the Mac than it currently is. So this is all going to tie into Apple's perfect plan of a seamless integration across all devices here in a few years. And with all that being considered, the ARM processor, the new form factor, the 16-inch display, potentially organic LED, it's going to be a killer device. Probably my second most anticipated Apple device besides the new Mac Pro. Next up, Philip Martin's iPhone 11 alternate design in motion. And here it is. I like it a lot. I never thought I'd say that, but I do wish that Apple went in this direction. It looks futuristic, kind of a retro cyberpunk vibe on the iPhone. I like it a lot, and I think it would fit in the 2020s. So there's that in motion. Really, really cool. Great work by Philip Martin. So Apple had a contract going with a British company called Nano Co that used quantum dot technology on a camera sensor to gather light more efficiently. Apple, since doing its due diligence, has decided this technology is too expensive to reproduce on a mass scale, and thus they've killed that contract, and the company since then isn't doing very well. I like that Apple is reaching out to many different companies, trying to improve the iPhone in every single way that they can, and sometimes things just don't work out. Moving on, we have a closer look at the iPhone 11 lens and the new mute switch in some detailed renders coming from Elixir. These are case manufacturer renders used to promote cases early. These companies do get the leaked CAD models from one source or another, and then they develop these cases early, as someone you may know. But anyways, that new mute switch, it's very adorable, and I think functionally it'll work much better. In your pocket, you'll be able to identify it easier, just to flip up or down instead of sideways. Sometimes it's hard to tell, but this way I guess you'll be able to feel off of the volume button and know where it's placed. I'm excited to see that in action. This does also confirm that Lightning is here to stay. Taking a look at the front, you see that the notch is smaller, but this is far from confirmed or anything like that. This is just a company-made render. It doesn't mean or spell anything for the actual release. And before I forget, wanted to share this with you. There's a tweak coming to the iPhone called Inevitable that when activated will remove half of your icons on the iPhone. Perfectly balanced, as all things should be. And I have an exclusive leak with Max Weinbach regarding this year's iPhones and Face ID Generation 3 I wanted to share with you. So I don't think we officially got a Generation 2. Apple did say the Face ID module on the iPhone XS did improve with speed and accuracy, and that it did, so I'll call this Gen 3. Face ID on this year's iPhones will be just as fast as Touch ID Generation 2 on the iPhone 6s and up, I believe. Actually testing these side by side, and on the right, the XS Max on iOS 13, which advertises an even faster Face ID unlock, I was able to see that Touch ID Generation 2 is still faster. Yes, it may not be as secure. Yes, Touch ID does have its compromises. You can't use it with wet fingers or cold fingers, I found anyways. But Face ID is convenience. In most cases, Face ID is more convenient for me than Touch ID. And now that it'll catch up in speed, to me is everything. So yes, the notch is not shrinking in size. It's not more aesthetically pleasing, but at least on this year's iPhones, it will be faster. And that's very exciting. And I think life-changing change. As many people unlock their iPhones at least 100 times a day, that'll add up and compound quite quickly. Now, knowing that the notch is staying at least until 2020 is made even more bittersweet looking at the competition. Oppo just announced a new beneath-the-screen camera sensor that, quite frankly, is from the future. It's what sci-fi dreams are made of. And the way it works is by deactivating pixels and shining through a transparent pixel layer. That way you can actually cover it back up and get your screen to show over the camera. Apple's approach here is wait and see, like it always is, and I'm sure they're working on their own versions of getting rid of the notch. So 2020 is when we start to see movement there, and Oppo themselves have admitted that they use software to mitigate some of the issues caused by this technology. It's very early, it's a very unrefined technology, and they actually have to use software to mitigate the haze and glare potentially from using a technology like this. And the Samsung Galaxy Fold is being released. I'm actually very happy to hear that. The sci-fi future is almost upon us. They said they've almost fixed all of the screen issues, but before they've even had a chance to release that, ET News is claiming they're already working on a Generation 2, likely taking some of the things they've learned with their hinge technology, the screen technology, and applying it to a new form factor. They're saying the Generation 2 will house a 6.7-inch display that'll fold over like a laptop instead of like a book, the current one. That's a completely different form factor, but still, I'm excited to get closer to that Westworld future. Now, I have a genuine concern regarding the pricing of this year's iPhone. Who's going to swallow the cost of the new tariffs? Is it going to be us or is it going to be Apple? Now, Apple is looking at this very intensely, and they're actually thinking about moving 15 to 30% of iPhone production outside of China, potentially to Taiwan, where the founder of Foxconn is asking Apple to move their facilities. We really don't know. Now, we haven't heard anything rumor-wise. At the very beginning, there was a rumor that the pricing would be staying the same, and I still think that's going to be the case. But again, the tariffs are actually a very, very big deal and could influence the iPhone prices for years to come. Honestly, if they raise the prices on this year's iPhone, I think it's going to be a very hard sell, as it's essentially the same device as the iPhone XS, just with one additional camera. Yes, it will be faster. Yes, it will have a night sight mode, but most of the other little changes that I've been walking you guys through for these many months aren't going to be noticeable to the average consumer. And I think it's going to be a very tough sell, especially if they're keeping the notch and the rounded design and charging $100 more. By the way, the displays you're seeing, so these are inspired from the actual new displays found in the Apple stores during the redesign. I decided to take that and apply it to the iPhone 11. These are my 4 points of what the iPhone 11 features would be and what Apple would sell them to consumers that don't really know about it. The reverse wireless charging, the dual and triple lens cameras, the Apple A13, which is going to allow the iPhone to do a lot of incredible things. Anyways, I like that a lot, what Apple's doing in their new Apple stores, so wanted to share that with you. Anyways, with that being said, it's going to be a very interesting few years. A lot's changing, and the landscape for Apple, money-wise, is changing. Technology, we're getting into micro mini LED here. Hopefully, we start seeing some really futuristic stuff. Anyways, I'll walk you through it when it's out there. Stay tuned. Peace.